This morning, Head of Civil Service, Mrs. Cecilia Odoisen, praises Permanent Secretary State Education Board for creating environment for worship. Health educators advised to be diligent and hardworking, plus patronage of staff and eye clinics at Odoisen Kanga Secretariat serves. Details in just a moment. Name is Augusta Essien. The Head of Service, Mrs. Cecilia Odoisen, has held the Permanent Secretary State Secondary Education Board, Elder Akman Solomon Akman, for encouraging Christians to worship God at the board's headquarters. She gave the commendation at the formal presentation and inauguration of a new set of uniform donated by Elder Akman to the board's choir group. The rest of the story is presented in our studios.
Mrs. presented by Pastor Charles Alfred, the chief accountant in her office, remarked that the good work of Elder Akman would not only attract blessings from heaven, but would leave a lasting memorial in the annals of the board.
I have noted very wonderfully that what the permanent secretary has decided to do is part of the memory that will remain in the memory of the Second Education Board, even if he is no more here.
Speaking during the presentation, Elder Akman said his gesture was a token of God's appreciation on him for all the good works in his life. He expressed the belief that the new uniform will to be moved to the service of God for his bountiful mercies to the choir, the board, and the state. The Permanent Secretary called on staff to work as a team, show loyalty and dedication to duties, as well as shun negative activities which might stand as a cut in the board's progress. Elder Akman expressed appreciation to Governor Godswill Akpabio for appointing him secretary, which has enabled him to contribute his quota to the development of the state. He also thanked the Head of Civil Service for being a mother since he assumed duties, as well as the Chairman of the board for our encouraging support.
This event is at my instance, as approved by my executive chairman, to help us again the glory of God through singing and worshiping our God, the divine creator of immense spiritual benefit. This gesture is also a token of appreciation for God's benevolence on me for all the good work in my life.
Speaking, the chairman of the board, Mary, said the gesture will remind the staff of a man who was faithful to God and diligent in service. The chairman, who was represented by Mr. Itabu, pledged to continue to assist the permanent secretary in his development projects. She prayed God to banish difficulties from the life of the donor as well as reward him.
For what he has done, we will continue to pray for him and his family, that we never will see the fire of this uniform. We will always remember that there was a man who was diligent in his duty and who had the fear of God.
Good from the Commissioner for Education, Professor Atuantai, who was appointed by a permanent secretary, Dr. Rosemary Essien, and the permanent secretary, State Technical Schools Board, Scholastica Huzo, represented by Ms. Udokan, Director of a Ministry. The new choir uniform was dedicated by a guest minister, Very Reverend Ukeme Ikot of Methodist Church Nigeria, after it had been unveiled by guests, including the Secretary, Civil Service Commission, Mrs. Ekano Atta. The event featured a ministration by a of good Christian Center, where I showed of the nothing could stop the children being delivered out of Egypt. Some ministers by the uniform and restoration of staff in the month of May.
Health educators in the state have been told to make hard work and diligence their watchword. The advice was given during a send-off ceremony organized in honor of the immediate past Director of Health Educators Services in the Ministry of Health, Mrs. Margaret Okpun, and other retired health educators. Olubayo Akindele has more.
The chairperson of the organizing committee, Mrs. Glory Etufia, congratulated the retirees who served humanity for years, describing them as epitome of excellence. She urged the retirees to continue to contribute their quota to the society's development and well-being.
35 years of meritorious service to your fatherland is no mean thing, and that is why we are all gathered here to celebrate you. Having clean service records, still basking in good health despite age, whether chronological or years of service.
The chairman of Local Government Health Educators Forum, Mr. Emmanuel Hubik, said it is imperative to reposition health education in the state through partnership with relevant bodies. He congratulated the retired health educators on their successful retirement from service, saying that those in the system should continue to tap from their wealth of experience.
To this occasion, I offer us an opportunity to meet with you. This time, not working together as colleagues, but celebrating you and wanting to answer some questions from you as how health education as a profession, as to how is health education as a profession in Akwa Ibom State.
In her remarks, the new Director of Health Education Services, Mrs. Evelyn Joseph Ayo, who showered encomiums on her predecessor, Mrs. Margaret Okpon, and other retirees, urged health educators in the state to continue to lead through advocacy, communication, and social mobilization. She appreciated God and the Commissioner for Health, Dr. Imam Abbasid Basi, the Secretary in the Ministry of Health, as well as the Director of Public Health Services, for their support to the department in the ministry and the state at large.
I particularly enjoy inclusivity, beloved colleagues, in whatever task you are serving. As the time comes when the declining stage of productivity sets in, and the 35 years of active service begin to roll by, we can't run away.
The outgoing health educator, Mrs. Margaret Okpon, gave glory to God for a successful career, attributing her success story to the Almighty God and hard work.
It is all about God's doing and not my own doing. God has been faithful in making me actualize what He has proposed me to do. They should sustain behavior change. In sustaining behavior change, they must talk to people on a daily basis on positive health habits.
I am delighted. I thank God for sparing my life. 35 years of service is not easy. Working very hard to be able to save the masses is not easy. But to the glory of God, I'm able to make 35 years of service.
Mrs. Okpon advised the newly appointed health educators to be about their work and for a successful tenure for her successor, Mrs. Evelyn Ayo. Olubele reporting.
The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Health, Mrs. Stella Usa, has given news to the medical superintendent and staff of the states and eye clinics located within the Idoma Senkanga Secretariat. She gave the commendation during a visit to the clinics. Mrs. Usa, who arrived to the clinic very early, met staff busy attending to patients. She and her entourage were taken around the different departments and units by Mrs. Dr. David Unang and Ejitu Isong. In her remarks, Mrs. Stella Usa congratulated and appreciated the commitment and dedication of staff to duties, noting that such zeal could encourage patients to patronize the clinics. The Permanent Secretary also hailed Governor Godswill Akpabio for supporting the health sector to meet its mandate.
I've observed that we have a lot of patients visiting this clinic. That means that the staff here are very hardworking and they know what they are doing. If it was not hardworking, we wouldn't have patients. And I want to urge you to do more. I can see that you have several needs in this place.
Earlier, the medical superintendents had enumerated their challenges to include lack of space and leaking roofs. They pleaded with the state government to address those challenges as patronage of the facilities were on the increase.
So the practice was that when we go to the office or something, we take them to and see, or they come here. So we didn't have any place to sustain it. So now we use this room to first sustain them, whatever. If they need be, we can transfer them to a bigger hospital and our second hospital. There are some cases we handle here on ourselves. We sustain them and they get to us and they recover. So that's what we use here. We don't have work, so we use it as an observation room to also keep our patients here sometimes. Very hot. When 7 o'clock, they started. So we want to move some, yes, and move one to kind of state of when we had that was the only one. It wasn't so bad.
As a build-up to the 6th combined convocation of the Akwa Ibom State College of Education, FANSET, the college has had a convocation lecture. The lecture held at the mini theatre of the college had management staff of the institution, council members, deans of faculties, heads of departments, and lecturers in attendance. Patience John provides details.
The lecture by Professor Lawrence Etam was titled Strategies and Tactics for Transforming the Akwa Ibom State College of Education into a world-class higher educational institution. The focus was to suggest ways on how to raise the quality of education there to meet with what is obtained in developed societies. Professor Etam, who is also the chairman, Governing Council of College of Education of FANSET, described education as a catalyst to development. He advocated more funding to tertiary institutions, training and retraining of teachers, as well as exposure to international conferences to resharpen their skills. He also recommended the encouragement of teachers and schools to go into researches that will profess solutions to some human problems, thereby better the lot of the society.
I will support the good existence of teaching and research in this college. To facilitate the transformation of this college into a world-class status, I recommend that government must support and encourage the research engagement of lecturers by offering competitive research grants and other financial support to staff. Generally, ranking is based on the institution's web presence, visibility, and access. This is premised on the assumption that web presence is a reliable indicator of the global performance and prestige of the institution so ranked.
A citation of the guest lecturer, Professor Lawrence Etam, read by the Deputy Provost Academics of the College of Education, Dr. Theresa Ekanam, shows that he has conducted several researches and has over 80 publications, including books, journals, magazines, and chapters in other people's works, a member of many academic and professional societies, and a recipient of over 30 awards, prizes, and fellowships.
His area of research competent supported mathematical modeling of the dynamics of exploited and unexploited aquatic renewable resources.
The Provost College of Education, Dr. Patrick Uko, said the lecture is part of the preparation for the 6th convocation of the school, noting that about 4,000 graduates of the institution will take part in tomorrow's convocation.
You can recall that in 2014,
2018, we had a big convocation ceremony where we were privileged to convoke over 13,000 students. And here again, we are set to convoke about 4,000 students. And so, we are counting down days, and we are trying to descend into the convocation proper. We are here for the convocation lecture.
The Deputy Provost Administration of the college, Dr. Charles Ifyong, and the school's registrar, Mr. Inyaba Subong, appreciated the guest lecturer for what they described as a thought-provoking lecture that is capable of elevating the school to an elite institution. Stakeholders believe that if the tactics and strategies recommended by the lecturer are upheld, Akwa Ibom State College of Education of Afansi will be turned into a world-class institution. From College of Education of Afansi, Patience John reporting.
Thank you, Patience. We want to quickly correct that the 6th combined convocation of the College of Education of Ansat will take place today, not tomorrow, as you heard in that report. And if you're just watching us, you haven't missed much, because what we said was that the Permanent Secretary, State Secondary Education Board, Elder Akpan Solomon Akpan, has received a pat on the back from the Head of Civil Service, Mrs. Cecilia Odoisen, for donating a new set of a uniform to the board's choir group. We also told you that health educators in the state have been told to make hard work and diligence their word. Of course, the advice was given during the send-off celebration organized in honor of the immediate past Director of Health Educators Services in the state, in the Ministry of Health, Mrs. Margaret Okbun, and other retired health educators. We'll take a break. When we come back, we have more news for you. To stand with us.
This is a public service announcement. The government of Akwa Ibom State wishes to bring to the notice of visitors and residents of the state steps to take in preventing the incidence or spread of the deadly Ebola virus disease in Akwa Ibom State. The Ebola virus can be contacted through any of the following ways: contact with the body fluids of those who are visibly sick from the disease, contact with the corpse of somebody who died from the disease, contact with an animal that is carrying the virus, especially fruit bats and monkeys. Symptoms of this deadly disease include sudden high fever, persistent headache, diarrhea, vomiting, general weakness, joint and muscle ache, sore throat, chest pain, internal and external bleeding. To prevent this disease, wash your hands regularly with soap and water. Keep your environment clean and properly fumigate your surroundings if you have pests around. Report any suspicious symptoms in yourself or anyone to the nearest health facility immediately you notice them. Medical personnel should use personal protective equipment when handling suspected cases and corpses. Be careful when handling dead bushmeat. Spread the message. Tell your neighbors, colleagues, domestic staff, family members and friends. Akwa Ibom is safer when everyone is educated about Ebola. For more information, call the helplines 0812-769-8984, 0812-769-8959, 0812-769-8949. Ebola kills fast. Spread this message faster. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Information and Communications, Akwa Ibom State.
You're welcome back. The rescheduled 2014 Confirmation and Promotion CONPRO seminar for civil servants who registered for the examination will be declared open on Monday, May 18th, 2015. The seminar timetable indicates that candidates in Uyo Senatorial District will have their seminar on Monday and Tuesday, 18th and 19th May 2015, while those from Ikotepene and Eket Senatorial District will take their turn on Wednesday, 20th and Thursday, 21st May 2015, beginning from 8 a.m. each day. The seminar will take place at Community Model Secondary School, Afar Fort, Uyo. The CONPRO examination has been scheduled for Saturday, 30th May 2015 and Saturday 6th June 2015 at the same venue from 8 a.m. A statement from the Office of the Head of Civil Service has appealed to permanent secretaries and heads of extra-ministerial departments to release officers that duly registered for the said examination to attend the seminar and the examination. Community leaders have been encouraged to be vigilant in watching over their communities if the current security situation in the state must be sustained. The State Controller of Immigration Service, Mr. Gaba Abdullahi, while speaking with AKBC News, said security of our environment requires a concerted effort from stakeholders and the cooperation of community leaders. Mr. Abdullahi, who was reacting to the apprehension of 99 irregular migrants in Akwa Ibom State, explained that although migration is not a crime, entry into a country other than yours has to be properly documented with intent and purposes clearly defined. The immigration boss explained that migrants pose a serious security threat to the community and the state because people without definite means of livelihood are vulnerable to criminal activities at the slightest provocation. He also encouraged youths and women leaders to collaborate to strengthen the security network in their villages in the interest of all by reporting strange faces to immigration office in their local government areas.
But those who enter irregularly, like what we have here now, at any point they are apprehended and arrested and it is discovered their entry is irregular, you repatriate them immediately back to their home countries.
Drama and counter-accusation interrupted the football stakeholders meeting in Uyo convened by the Nigeria Football Federation. These followed the invitation of comments and advice by the NFF delegation for stakeholders to air their views on the way forward for football administration in Akwa Ibom State. The meeting, which took place at the Uyo Township Stadium, was witnessed by the Director of Sports, Coach Anedi Dixon, who was an observer. Following the decision of the NFF to wade into the controversy generated by the Akwa Ibom Football Association, the stakeholders had different opinions concerning the electoral process. Barrister Chris Essien and Mr. Emmanuel Ebe, former local government chairman in the state and members of the former electoral committee, saw nothing wrong in the electoral process. This stand was supported by the former State Football Association chairman, Chief Ifeong Johnson. However, others, including the Vice President Swan, Mr. Justice Udosara, faulted the election process as guidelines released by the Electoral Committee were not followed, while lists of delegates were hoarded until the eve of the election. His view was supported by the chairman of Coaches Association, Coach Emmanuel King, and that of professional players, Mr. Maurice Silas. Following intermittent interruption by some stakeholders, the former chairman of Akwa United, Obong Isong-Isang, and chairman of Akwa Starlet, Emmanuel Iba, said the arguments indicated that all was not well with the elections process and suggested a way forward. Our state is awaiting the decision of the NFF Normalization Committee. 3 leaders of the failed coup against the Burundian president Pierre Nkurunziza has been arrested. However, the main coup leader, General Godefroid Niyombere, is said to be still on the run, and it is hoped that he and his fellows are going to surrender soon. This forms part of our foreign news as presented by Imabong Judge.
More than 100,000 people have fled Burundi since the unrest began last month. The Nkurunziza, who was in Tanzania when the coup attempt against his bid to seek a 3rd term was launched, was expected to address the nation today. Witnesses and officials say he has returned to his hometown of Ngozi in the north of the country. Renegade General and former Defense Minister General Cyril Ndayirukoye was one of the 3 coup leaders arrested on Friday. The Burundian government says if those arrested are found to be among the coup leaders, they will have to face justice, and that it was only a small section of the army who had rebelled and denying a division in the army. Security Minister Gabriel Nizigama told reporters that 2 police commissioners and about a dozen other police officers had also been arrested after a brief exchange of fire at one of the generals' houses where they were hiding. More than 700 migrants from Bangladesh and Myanmar have been rescued from a sinking boat off Indonesia's coast. Reports say another boat was turned back by the Indonesian Navy. The fate of another vessel with stranded migrants off the coast of Thailand is unclear after it was tailed out of their waters. Human Rights Watch has warned of deadly human ping pong in the Andaman Sea, where thousands more are believed to be adrift, struggling to land. Medical officials told reporters that of those rescued off of Indonesia's Aceh province on Friday, 8 were critically ill. According to initial information, they were pushed away by the Malaysian Navy to the border of Indonesia's waters. The American king of the blues, guitarist and singer B.B. King, has died aged 87. B.B. King, known for his hits My Lucille, Sweet Little Angel, and Rock Me Baby, died in his sleep in Las Vegas. Born in Mississippi, B.B. King began performing in the 1940s, going on to influence a generation of musicians and worked with Eric Clapton and U2. Once ranked as the 3rd greatest guitarist of all time, he had been suffering ill health in recent months. He was recently taken to hospital with a diabetes-related illness. Fellow musicians paid tribute to B.B. King, including blues guitarist Buddy Guy, who often played with him.
Thank you, Mabong George. You can also watch AKBC TV News online by logging on to akbconline.org or follow us on Twitter at AKBC45U or on Facebook at AKBC Channel 45, and that's a package this morning. But just before we go, another look at the major stories. The head of Civil Service, Mrs. Cecilia Odoisen, has praised the Permanent Secretary, State Secondary Education Board, Mr. Akpan Solomon Akpan, for creating a conducive environment for worship at the board's headquarters. Health educators in the state have been advised to be diligent and hardworking. We also told you that patronage of the staff and eye clinics at the Idoisinkanga Secretariat has surged in recent times. That's a package. Join us at 12 for yet another outing. Until then, do stay blessed.
Accurately informative, knowledgeably innovative, beating other stations as regards network coverage,
and bringing on-the-spot and live coverage of events with
captivating and entertaining programs. It's AKBC Channel 45, the ultimate in television broadcasting.